Before you go out into that world, after you've designed the rules, you're going to go over to that big barrel over there, and there's 6 billion tickets in it, and you're going to pull a ticket out. And that ticket may say male, female, it may say rich, poor. What kind of a world do you want to have, not knowing what tickets you're going to get? Now, I call that participating in the ovarian lottery. I got a ticket that said United States. You did too. I got a ticket that said smart about certain things. All of that helped me. But I say you should design a political system that will deliver lots of goods and services to people, but then we'll search for fairness in how those are distributed. So I come into this and abundance is just showered on me because I have a talent. Now, Gates says if I'd been born at some other time or some other place, a long time ago, I'd been some animal's lunch because I don't run very fast. I can't climb trees. So I'd be talking about allocating capital. That damn thing, dinosaur would be coming right at me.
And he offers a profound definition of success.
Let me tell you a story. It gets there. I have a friend here in Omaha. She's my wife's best friend. 60-odd years ago, she was in Auschwitz. She's a Polish Jew. The whole family did not come out. If you talk to her today and you ask her about friendship, she would say she would define it as who would hide me. She says that's the bottom line. Now, I would say that if you get to be my age, or much younger for that matter, and you have a lot of people who will hide you, the people who you want to have hide you would do so, you're going to feel very good about your life. It's the real test. I mean, it's a referendum on how you've lived your life, and you can't fake the ballot box on it. I mean, it's all important, and you certainly want to feel that way with your kids, but it's wonderful when you feel that way with your business associates and those who worked around you.
Friends, real friends, are important to Warren Buffett, and here are 3 of the closest. Tom Murphy, former CEO of ABC Capital Cities, Charlie Munger, vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, and Don Keogh, chairman of Allen & Company.
Warren would never take advantage of anybody. He's never looking to make a bad deal for the other guy. And he's completely honest and fair with everybody.
It's the nature of life that, as the old Germans say, you're too soon old and too late smart. And anybody that helps you get smarter a little earlier enormously improves your life. And all we do is prove these simple old adages like that German saying. Warren got me smarter in some ways a little earlier, and that helped me.
How close did you live to the Buffetts?
Well, I lived across the street.
Across the street?
Across the street. I bought a house there in around 1959. A 3-story house, brick house, a tile roof, paid $27,500 for it, and there was a young fellow living across the street in another house, good big house. He paid $30,000, I think, for his. His name was Warren Buffett. He wasn't nobody knew who he was. He was a nice guy. I think he and Susie had 3 kids. We had 4 working on 5. And, I got to know him. He wasn't easy to know because you didn't see much of him. But my kids did. Of course, the real story is that he came across the street one day and he said, "Don, I love your kids." I said, "I know." And he said, I was thinking about college, getting kids through college isn't easy. I said, "Warren, I'm working on grade school right now. I'll get around to college a little later." He said, "I've started a little fund. People putting a little money into it, and if you gave me, say, $10,000, I think I could build that up into something." Well, Charlie, I didn't give it to him for 2 reasons. One, I didn't have it. I could have borrowed it from my father. But I went into Mickey and said, "Can you imagine giving $10,000 to a guy who doesn't get up and go to work in the morning?" That was one of my great decisions of my life.
If you had given him that $10,000.
Don't ask.
Yeah, probably over $400 million.
Now $400
yeah.
million.
Mm-hmm.
You've talked.
We're still friends, incidentally.
Susie Buffett, Warren's beloved wife, unexpectedly died in 2004, 1 month after she sat down with me for her only television interview and talked about their unique relationship.
According to him, to me, he would not have made it
without you. You gave him something.
Well, I feel really good about that, Charlie, because whoever you are in this life, you don't want to think you wasted a lot of your energy and love and time on something useless. Warren is phenomenal. And I felt that the best thing I could give him was unconditional love. And I have. And he says, you're like a little watering can, you know, and I'm the flower. and how could you not feel good about that?
He made you feel needed.
Mm-hmm, very much
And you
so.
knew he loved you.
Oh, I don't know that anyone's ever been more loved. It fits me to be needed and to know that what I have to give is the right thing. And if you have two people, we just have a lot of love and respect for each other, and that's never changed.
And I can't help but relate it to art, because any great novelist, painter, musician is going to need the room to allow that to grow, and something's going to grow if it's in the right soil. And my mother gave him the soil. That's really what it is.
Did you get more mothering than fathering because he was so into reading and...
Yeah. I mean, my mother was there, and she was there, and more present in the sense that my dad was, you know, sitting in his office or room doing a lot of reading.
Why did you move away from Omaha?
I'll tell you, I am a person who likes a private life, and I thought, you know, I would like to have a place where I could have a room of my own. It would be nice. Because you see, physical proximity to Warren doesn't always mean that he's there with you. I mean, you can, there hasn't been any change in anything, because, which he had to, it took him a while to figure it out, but he figured it out. I said, I'm not leaving you, because I'll be wherever you want me when you want me. But most of the time, when you're in the same house he is or whatever, he's up reading, and that's why I learned to have my own life. We were two parallel lines, but very connected when he was open to connecting.
You just got this sense that there were two people that were very much in love, but were sort of becoming disconnected in a certain way, because my mom loved life, and my dad loved what he's always loved, you know, his work.
He loved his work.
Absolutely. And so I think what my mom was starting to see coming was this idea of, you know, I don't want to be Mrs. Warren Buffett in Omaha, because she just can't think of herself that way. She's an independent, strong-willed, giving human being that needs to be connected to a lot more things than what Omaha, I think, would have to offer after her kids were gone. I mean, she really gave us and my dad everything.
Are you responsible for Astrid?
Well, yeah. I mean, well, I'll tell you. I call her Aya. That's a term of endearment.
You call her what?
Aya.
Aya.
It's a term of endearment. When I was singing at the French Cafe in Omaha, Aya was the maitre d', or the woman that met you at the door, and she is a very helping, giving person. And between sets, she would always bring me tea, and we'd sit and talk, and we became very good friends. Then when I moved to San Francisco, I mean, it would have been all right for some other person, but Warren can't find the light switch, and it's probably my fault, but I don't take all the fault for that. So then I called Astrid. I said, Astrid, will you take Warren, make him some soup, go over there and look after him, because he's not going to make it. I mean, he's different than a lot of guys, because we see each other all the time and we do things, but he just can't No, he
Function.
can't function. Yeah.
So she went over and
Yeah, and stayed. And that was, she's done me a great favor, let me tell you.
She took care of your man for you.
She did. And she takes great care of him. And he appreciates it, and I appreciate it. She's a wonderful person.
And they go out to dinner and everything.
Yeah,
and
they just do.
He's a companion.
They do what they do,
He's
you know?
yeah.
This is veal parmesan.
Is that Liz? Oh, good. Wow.
Oh, this is the reason he comes.
The potatoes.
The hash brown.
Hash browns, yeah.
That's the biggest piece of meat I've ever seen on a single.
They were really good friends. I mean, I think it's true. They loved each other. I know Astrid loved my mother, and my mother adored her. Yeah.
So your mother's death was tough for her,
Oh,
too.
it was very hard for her. Yes.
But even more important for her to be strong, because
Yeah.
it's one of those things that's so strange it works.
That's exactly right. I mean, I always think, this is one of those things that unless you're in it, you may not get it, but it works and it's great.
She knew that my dad would need somebody, certainly. And I don't know, or I don't remember the exact details, but I do know that there was essentially you mind making him chicken soup, and one thing led to another, basically, which is phenomenal. I mean, it is it's extraordinary how that worked out, I think, for everybody.
He was devastated by Susie's death.
Oh, that's an understatement. Yeah.
Couldn't even get out of bed.
Well, he did get out of bed. I was proud of him. I didn't know if he'd be able to get out of bed for a few months, but he did.
I mean, he was just, because it was so sudden.
It was a huge shock. I mean, my mother, she got sick in October of 2004, went through this really awful operation and very difficult radiation and recovery, and was doing really well. It was slow, but she was doing really well. And she'd had an MRI, I think, just a few days before she died. And she was very excited. She was doing great. And
didn't die from cancer, died from a stroke.
No, she didn't die from the cancer.
I think that for any of us, it was hard to imagine her ever being gone, and I'm sure that's probably natural.
He said to me he thought he would go first.
I think we all thought that. I mean, I would have said the same thing if you'd asked me that question. And I don't know why that is, but she was the true matriarch of the family. And so I think we just, for some reason, we felt that way. And for not any logical reason, but that was just, and I've never asked Susie or Peter how they felt, but I mean, that would have been my answer to the question, is that I just thought that she would have been around towards the end. And I think that, he's still adjusting to it. I mean, it probably takes years to adjust
5 years,
to it,
he said, I'll be the same. He told me, 5 years from now, I'll feel the same way.
Yeah, and that's probably true.
Can't talk about it, though.
Well, that doesn't surprise me. I mean, she was something very special.
Has he changed?
I think he has a little bit. He's never too busy or uninterested, which is fantastic. And that has only increased. I think that's the biggest thing over time, and specifically since my mom's death.
That he's more available?
Just greater interest in being in touch.
Yeah.
My show was on the Mall in Washington when the Smithsonian opened their National Museum of the American Indian. And I called him up and I said, normally I'd call my mom and I'd tell her how excited I was, and then she'd call you and tell her how excited I was. So I'm calling you and telling you, because she's not here anymore.
He has said that there's nothing more important in life than to have someone you love who you know loves you back.
Well, he would know that with her. There's no question about it.
This is a remarkable woman.
Yep.
And the pictures of her, every picture I would see of Susie, she's smiling.
It's going to be hard to talk about.
I know, but you got to talk to me about it because she talked about you.
Charlie, I'd like to talk about, but I can't.